You love the sport. You fell in love with it. The last couple of months, you've been doing a lot of biking, figuring it out, getting your toes wet a bit. You're starting to fall in love with the sport, as so many people have, including myself. But you're maybe ready for the next step. You want to start taking it a bit more seriously. You want to start seeing a bit more progress, doing a real structured training plan, but you have no idea where to start. Do you just go out and start smashing intervals? Do I need a power meter? All these jargous terms that you see on the internet: FTP, power meter, watts, heart rate variability, training stress. You have no idea. You're confused. You don't know where we need to start. Maybe you're not quite at the point yet where you want to go out and hire a full-time coach, but all you know is that you're done with this I'm going to go out and bike today because I've got an hour. You want to take it up a step. Where do we start? What do we need to do? I'm going to go through it a bit today, guys. A couple of ideas for those newcomers to the sport that hopefully will help you set sail in the sport and help get you on the right track towards some major improvements in the next 2025 year, guys. Let's get right into it. Probably going to start with, what do we need? Do we need to go out and spend a bunch of money on a bunch of these fancy gadgets? Power meter, heart rate monitor, a cycling computer. So let's start just going right down the list. And what is a power meter? A power meter is an awesome little device. I'll show you guys here on my bike. There are very different power meters available, but basically the power meter is inside here. And what it does is it gives us a lifetime reading of how many watts we are producing. Watts mean speed. That is how we produce speed on the bike. Every time we push our pedal, we are producing energy, and that watt is the energy. But guys, it's really cool. We have, as cyclists, the opportunity, and it's really the only sport in the world where we can see lifetime data when we're way out in the middle of the forest. We have that crazy ability to see live watts. So that's what a power meter is. If you have the money, that is the tool by far. But they are a bit expensive. Do we need to get a power meter? Absolutely not. In fact, a power meter can be a double-edged sword. It's a fantastic tool. In my opinion, what makes cycling so addictive for me. But if you're starting the sport and you're learning from ground zero with a power meter how to pace your effort, you basically never end up learning about your own body, learning how to pace your effort, identifying the signals that your body is telling you. Oh, we're about to go into the red zone here, Keegan. If you're only a slave to the power meter, it's a dangerous way to start the sport. It's kind of something a bit more advanced. Do you need to get a power meter to start training with a bit more structure? No, I wouldn't say so. There are other ways to do it, and we're going to go into those in a bit. A heart rate strap, I'm sure most people know what this is. It's a little strap that we normally wear right here on our chest, and it's quite simple, guys. It tells us our heart rate. We can use a heart rate monitor in various different ways in the training cycle. What most commonly is found is basically saying, all right, here's your ride today. We want you to do 2 hours with your heart rate between 130 beats per minute and 140, which would be in my case, a nice zone 2 ride pace heart rate zone. So it's a good tool for those people that do not want to buy a power meter. Next one, guys, is the little bike computer. There are tons of different brands. I'll show you mine. On my team, we use Wahoo. So look at this, a great display of different data fields. That's my watts right there. We've got our heart rate displayed. We've got our distance displayed. We've got our time. We've got, the ability to click lap and do an interval, and it shows you how many minutes you've been doing that particular interval. A bunch of other functions that you can do with this tool, guys. If you do have the money to get yourself a little bike computer, it can be a massively important and helpful tool. For a new cyclist, before even contemplating the idea of starting a training plan, a structured training plan, what is the first thing that we must master, guys? We need to learn how to ride steady without doing surges. Now, let me explain. So, obviously, the base of any endurance training plan is going to be these low intensity rides. Low intensity meaning zone 2, where ideally we get to a point when we're a bit more fit, where we can do these basically all day. That is the number one thing. But guys, a lot of new riders, they don't have this skill developed yet. They don't have the ability to ride steady. I'm talking, they're riding out and there's a little bit of a zinger hill, and all of a sudden they're smashing up that hill. That is not riding at a low intensity. And what does this do, guys? If the rider doesn't know how to ride at that low intensity, every time they smash that hill like that, they are spending a bullet. They're shooting one of their bullets. And as a young rider or an inexperienced, unfit rider, your bullets are very limited, guys. We don't have unlimited ones. So that's where, someone goes out and they do an hour-long ride, which is a relatively short ride for a cyclist, and they completely are smoked. Learn how to ride steady. It's a tricky thing to do. That is going to allow you to ride more hours, which is going to allow you to get more training stress, which is going to allow you to become fitter down the road. So that is the skill number one we have to learn before we even throw around this idea of starting a structured plan. Let's talk about, in my opinion, one of the by far most important skills that you need to learn as a new coming cyclist. That is training off RPE, which is the rate of perceived exertion. A 10 out of 10 on this RPE scale is your all-out effort for that duration. I give a lot of my new athletes training based off RPE. Why? Because it helps them go and find their limits, help them to understand their own body, which is absolutely essential as a cyclist. You need to understand your own body, the signals that your body's telling you. And if you are a slave to the heart rate monitor, the power meter, you never learn that stuff. You're kind of more of a robot. So I like to structure their training like this. Okay, we've got an hour and a half today. We're going to do 30 minutes at an RPE of 3/10. Then we're going to do a couple of intervals where I'm going to have you do 5/10 RPE. So a bit harder. Let's see what you come back to me with after I tell you to do 3 by 10 minutes at 5/10 RPE. Are you able to pace it well? Do you come back and you say, oh my God, I was bleeding out my eyes on the last one? Okay, need to work on that pacing. We need to work on that internal understanding of our own body. And so guys, this is why I really, really think training with an RPE, which is a free thing, you don't need anything. You can go out, time yourself with a simple watch, say, I'm gonna ride 10 minutes at 6/10 RPE and try and go figuring it out. Third step, guys, when in doubt, zone 2 it out. Now, zone 2, like I was explaining, that is the bread and butter of any human's training plan. That does any endurance sport. Swimming, running, biking, whatever, we are all doing the majority of our work in zone 2. It is one of these training zones that is always going to make us better. Doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter who you are. That is the golden ticket. It's always bringing you a step forward. So guys, for these young people, having a structured plan in the very beginning, when you're a brand new rider, we need to keep it blisteringly simple. I'm talking literally, we've got 6 hours to ride that week. 1 hour each day. Your structured plan is literally 1 hour at this zone 2 endurance. Nothing more, guys. We don't want to go too deep into the bushes too early. We need to make sure that we're nailing the basics. This is harder than you think, and structured training can be as simple as that. Completing day after day zone 2 rides. Now, once you're at a point where you're able to do that, then we can start talking about adding in some more intervals, some more of this typical structure that everyone thinks of. But guys, we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by jumping into too much intensity when we aren't even able to do 5 days back to back with an hour of zone 2 training. That is the step 1 of structured training. As boring as it sounds, guys. So don't be afraid to just do a shitload of zone 2 when you're first starting out. Consistent biking, as many days that you possibly can. Now, we always have to keep in mind, guys, it is way, way better to do just 45 minutes of riding every day than it is to go out and smash yourself on Saturday and Sunday, smash your mental bullets, smash yourself physically, and then Monday comes around, you're unmotivated, you're tired, so you don't get on the bike. Tuesday, you're still feeling a bit of that fatigue dragging in there, so another day where you don't get on the bike. That is just creating these ups and downs, peaks and valleys in your consistency. And the unfit body does not like that. The unfit body wants nothing more than just very low level stress, but consistently every single day. Nothing crazy. We want to prioritize above anything else. Just boring consistency, guys. Simplicity. Make your training ridiculously simple. The reality is, if you are able to force yourself into being consistent and training as consistently as you possibly can, it truly doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're not going out and smashing death pace intervals every day or Zwift races every day. If you're doing a good bit of low intensity riding as many days a week as you possibly can, you're going to get better as a new cyclist. I promise you. The main thing that is harming people's development at this point in their cycling career is lack of consistency. 3, 4, 6 days off the bike. And I know some people have vacations, some people have traveling commitments. There's a lot more going on here. Point is, when we can, we do a training ride. Doesn't have to be crazy. Doesn't have to be 3 hours, 45 minutes, 1 hour. That is going to be better spaced over the week than doing giant shit on the weekends and then being smoked. So really prioritize the consistency, guys. I know it's boring, but that is the reality of this sport. So that is what I have got for you guys. Those of you who are maybe new to the sport, I know it's an intimidating, tricky sport to enter into. There's a lot of technology, a lot of science, a lot of terms, and it's quite easy to just feel completely lost, not know where to start. Hopefully these little pieces of advice can at least help orient you guys a little bit. Feel free, leave me a comment if you guys have any questions about where to start with your own training. I always try give you guys a little bit of a tip here and there if I have them. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, shoot me that like. It really helps build the channel. And hope that you have a good week of training, guys.